Welcome to Let Me Be Clear. My name is Ignacio Rodriguez, Principal Architect at IR Architects. We are a luxury design firm that specializes in custom residences here in the city of Los Angeles.
Well, sweet. Let's get rolling. How's everything going? Today's Monday.
Monday, exciting. Today is just getting ready for the week. All the different construction projects that are going on, making sure everything's moving smoothly. Getting ready to get started.
Getting closer to breaking ground on some projects?
Yes. Actually, we're hopefully breaking ground on 2 new homes next week.
Nice. Are those in the Palisades?
Yes, sir.
Amazing. I love it. You guys are making moves out there, and it seems like it's moving fast. So
it is moving fast. Yes.
Exciting stuff. But yeah, today I'd like to dive into a little bit more on budgeting for contractors and kind of diving deep into that. I think it's something that is a lot of people have questions about, so it'd be cool to address some of those things.
Yeah, for sure. Budgeting is one really large topic, complicated topic. Who your contractor is another very complicated topic in terms of who you select, who's a good contractor for you, who's a good contractor fit for you, because every contractor is not the same, and the contractor will have a correlation to your budget, and then ultimately, how do you break ground?
For sure. How many contractors are typically there when you're starting, and are there different phases of contractors that you need?
So there's your prime contractor. There's your main contractor, right? So he's the one leading the charge on all of it. And then there's a series of subcontractors that are providing services for each individual trade. Sometimes a subcontractor might do a few different trades, right? He might do concrete, grading, and framing. A framer might install windows and doors, and he might do different pieces. So sometimes, in many cases, actually, subcontractors do different pieces. The main contractor is one individual, and then there's a series of subcontractors.
Got it. And what's the process of orchestrating all the contractors or subcontractors as well?
Yeah, so we typically, what we like to do is when we're working with a contractor, right, we want to ask them for a bid. And so, which is a estimate. A bid is never, ever a final actual cost. It is an estimate of what they believe your house is going to cost. And so that means that they took the drawings that you prepared, they sent it out to a bunch of subcontractors, collected numbers, put all those numbers on one giant form or spreadsheet, and then presented it to you as their bid for this house. And our job is to ask a lot of questions about this bid, trying to make sure you understand what they're doing, make sure the scope of work of what you designed, everything's included in there, and how long it's going to take to perform this work.
Definitely. And as far as relationships go, do you primarily have relationships with the contractor, or do you also have relationships with the subcontractors throughout the process?
We have both.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, our core relationship is with the contractor because he's the one really putting the whole project together. But we do have relationships with some subs. Windows and doors are very important to us. Drywall is very important to us. Stucco is very important to us. And painting. So we have relationships with others, like vendors that we've met along the way, subs that we've met along the way that are really good. And so if a contractor says, hey, do you know anybody that does X? Oh yeah, let me introduce you to somebody that we had a great experience with.
For sure. So it seems like a big piece of this is managing cash flow.
Mm-hmm.
How do you explain that to the owners as far as how they should manage cash flow and the different phases? Because I'm sure it's not a big lump sum up front or...
It is not.
Yeah.
We do not want anybody to give a contractor a lump sum of money in any way.
Of course.
So the way we manage the budget, right? So the estimate or the budget eventually becomes what we call the schedule of values. And that means that is now our goal of what we're building this house towards. And as the contractor completes their work, they're billing against that schedule of values. So say concrete. We have $200,000 in concrete. When they get 50% done, we're going to give them 50% of the money. When they get 100% done, we're going to verify that it's 100% done. And if it is, we will then pay them 100% of the money.
Right.
And so what we ask contractors to do is to give us a draw schedule, which is a schedule of how the money is going to be requested approximately through the course of construction. So there'll be, in the beginning, it's a little expensive, and then it kind of slows down, and then it really picks up.
Right.
And so the clients, so they can prepare for themselves financially for roughly, I'm going to need 400 grand in September, 300 grand in October, 200 grand in November, $500,000 in December,
Right.
another $500,000 in.
So there's key milestones where you guys basically approve that it's been done properly and move on to the next phase.
Exactly.
Are the end users part of the decision making if it is done properly or not? And then
So they are. I mean, clients are always going to ask us for our professional opinion, just based on the projects that we've done and who we think is a good fit for their project. Again, not every contractor is a good fit for every project, and not every project is a good fit for them. And so it's identifying which project makes sense for that type of contractor. And then also from a personality standpoint, your contractor's personality has to jive with the client's personality. If they clash, it's all bad. I like to use a phrase. I learned it somewhere along the way. You date your architect, you marry your contractor. And so it's very important that the contractor and the client they get along and they're really good for, like, everything works, because they're going to be in each other's lives for a long time.
Right. That makes sense. Are there any examples of when things maybe didn't go well as far as the relationship?
I mean,
the marriage.
Yeah. I mean, there's examples at that point. There's a lot of money that's being spent, and there's a lot of moving pieces. And so that's why what we've learned now more than ever is if we don't believe a contractor is a good fit for a client, like many times a client's recommended a contractor from a friend, and they're like, hey, he built our friend's house. I think he would be a great fit for our house because he did a great job.
Right.
And it's like, he might have done a great job, but his personality and your personality do not get along at all. And you just don't see that yet because you're excited about the number. And it's like, so that's kind of my job, is to find the pieces and people that get along. Now, there's some great contractors that just get along with everybody, right? And so those guys are awesome, and and they help me out tremendously, because I can basically put them in front of anybody and they're going to get along great.
Right.
But that's not always the case with every contractor.
For sure. And then with these key milestones in the build, is there ever times where the end user wants to adjust something and then it messes up the budget for the future?
Yes. So that does happen. And it is tough because changes while you're in construction are very complicated, right? When you're in construction, that means that a lot of contracts have already been purchased based on this design. So when you go to change that design, you now need to reach out to a lot of subcontractors to tell them that you've changed the design. So that means that a super simple rotate my toilet,
right?
Change my shower, flip the
up.
shower. It requires you to talk to the flooring guy, the tile guy, the glass guy, the plumber, the drywaller, all the fixtures that are going in, lighting design, architecture. So a simple change is quite complex. And so we always, in our interior design business, or the side of our business, we walk clients through their houses in 3 dimensions. So they are literally able to walk through the front door and we show you every corner of your house.
How does that work?
It's the software that we use. We use Revit. And so Revit is a 3D software. It's a BIM software, but it's a 3D software where we're not drawing 2-dimensional drawings like plans.
Right.
We're literally building a model. And that model has both architecture and interior design, and in some cases the landscape design. So when the client is in there, they get to see, like, from your living room, this is what you're going to see. From your front door, this is what you're going to see. In your bathroom, this is what you're going to see. And a lot of times it allows them to see, like, oh, okay, I got it. So no, I don't want my shower actually that close to the window. I actually want my shower further away from the window.
So that's the time where they need to make the adjustments.
Exactly.
And what is the last possible time, or when do you communicate with the end users, like, hey, like, we're going full send, like, this is what we're sticking with?
Yeah, so typically, right, when we're going to pull our permits, once we pull permits, those are record sets of drawings. Those are pretty set in stone, and changes at that point are complicated. Not only are they complicated from a consultant perspective, but there might be a code implication to it that I need to now take these drawings back to the city. And so that whole process takes time, costs money, and more than anything, it's going to delay the project.
For sure. And how do you guys mitigate risk with cash flow issues?
We just try to explain, like, this is what the cost is. This is what the potential overruns are. This is what is not included in the cost. Because a lot of times, right, like, furniture is not included. Art is not included. All the moving your furniture back in or taking it out is not included in any of this process. Furniture and art could be another $1 million. And so it's important to understand that, like, this is just one cost of this total budget, right? You have your soft costs, which are all of your engineers, your architects, your designers. And then you have your hard cost, which is your actual building cost. And then there's your moving in and, like, actually living in this house cost. A lesson, that we learned when we bought our first house many, many years ago was the house comes with no curtains. And so a lot of times when you buy a spec house, they don't have any curtains.
Right.
So, like, before you can move in, you have to put curtains everywhere, or you're going to move into a fishbowl. Right. And so those are those things that, like if we're budgeting, like, curtains might not be in your hard costs, because the contractor's like, yeah, I'm just putting the box for the shade, but the actual shade, it's your FF&E, it's by your furnishings and all that fun stuff. So they need to then include that. And let me tell you, curtains are really expensive.
Right. Absolutely. Is there anything on the cash flow standpoint that comes up that typically people aren't thinking about?
I think where most projects get really complicated is towards the end of the project, because a lot of times you're not living in the house, or you're trying to move into this house. So that means you're renting another property. And so clients are trying to time that overlap perfect. Like, my lease is up in March, so I want to move into this. I want to move into this house in February, so I don't have to pay an extra month. And so that always gets tough, because they're carrying, right, if the project, a decision you made 9 months ago or a year ago,
right,
delayed the project 3 months, and you've forgotten that decision. And so here we are a year later, and now we're getting close to moving in time, but now your lease is up, but we're not finishing in February because of this change. We're now finishing in May or June.
And so that's part of your guys' job, is to communicate, like, hey, if we make this adjustment, this is what could happen 9 months from now.
It's part of our, I don't know if our job per
Right.
se, but it's part of our process of
Right.
when we're in construction, communicating, like, hey, this is what's happening. Like, you can totally move your kitchen. 100% you can move it, but just understand that it's complicated. And so I don't know if that's what you want to do right this very second.
Yeah,
So
for sure. I feel like the next chronological step is breaking ground. So what does that mean to you guys? What does that look like?
yeah, so the act of breaking ground is not just literally going out there and starting digging holes.
Not pulling out the shovel.
No, I mean, we wanted to, but no, it's called mobilizing. So we got to get the contractor to mobilize. So before we could even break ground, we need to have a contract in place, a schedule of values in place, which is a hard budget that you as the owner is agreeing to, that this house is going to cost me this dollar amount, and I am okay with this cost. In the past, we've had clients start projects with the idea of, like, no, we're going to save money. Well, That schedule of values is tied to your contract, and it says that I'm going to build you a structure for this cost.
Right.
Nowhere in it does it say that we're
Get your
going to
money
save another 100 or 200 or $1 million.
That's what you committed to.
This is what you committed to. It's like walking in a restaurant. This is the menu. This is what this stuff costs. You're not going to haggle that cost of steak.
Right.
The steak is $100. It's going to be $100. And so you have to have your contract, your schedule of values. You have to get insurance. In some cases, in the Palisades, not really right now, but in some cases, you have to turn off all utilities. So you have to get the gas shut off, water shut off, electricity cut off. You have to get a temporary power pole brought to the site so you can have power for your tools. You have to fence the property completely. And then you have to get the surveyor to come back and stake all of the building corners.
And this is what it looks like
piles.
now with the Palisades. Is there anything else that is different now than it was before with the Palisades when there was a full community there?
No, not necessarily. I think there's a lot of uncertainty on the end right now. Like, yes, we could start construction. All that's going to be fine. But when we get close to finishing the project, how are we going to get gas? How are we going to get power? How are we hooking up to sewer? Is it all there? Is it working? Does it function? Because it's there right now because they kind of put it back together, so to speak. But they're really talking about rehauling all of that, undergrounding all the power lines, really rebuilding the infrastructure. So what's going to happen to our project when we're now ready to move in, but the city's like, oh, now we're starting our electrical. Like, what does that mean for us? So there's some questions there for sure. That typically is never the case.
Right. There's just some uncertainty right
now.
now.
Like when we break ground, we know that we're going to have power, we're going to have gas, we're going to have water when we're there.
Right. Those are some crazy things you probably never expected to have to think about, right?
Yeah, not in the projects like this. So sometimes you have that in like raw land.
Right.
You're developing out in like there's no development. Like there's going to be infrastructure we have to build to get there. But right now, there's just a lot of unknowns.
Right. How big are the expenses or cost when building a little bit more off grid?
It's a lot more expensive. Yeah. The kind of offsite work we call it, it could be really expensive. Like just to give you some numbers, for DWP to trench the street for your power line, the general kind of ballpark number is $1,000 a linear foot.
Wow.
So if you have to run 100 feet, it's $100,000.
Just a DWP.
Yes, just to run that line. If you have to run 1,000 feet, right, it's $1 million. So those are big numbers. Those are big boy numbers. And so it's imperative to understand how these utilities are going to come together.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you guys are going to break ground, who is the one person you look at or refer to know if the project is going to be moving at the pace in which it's been drawn out?
So that's a great question. So the person who's actually running your job site, it's not the general contractor in many cases. It's the site superintendent. And that is the person that is basically living on site. He's the guy who's there every morning to open the site. He's the guy who leaves at the end of the day and closes the site. You got to meet this person. This individual is who's actually doing the project. The general contractor has multiple projects and he's running around. He's seeing all of them, but he's not on your site 24/7. Right. Your site super is. That gentleman or that individual is who you need to make sure you trust. He's a good communicator. Is great at problem solving because there's always problems on a job site. Always something's always going on, and can deliver news to you. If something didn't go to plan or something's going on, he could just tell you, "Hey, running behind schedule 3 days. Concrete guy was supposed to be here, didn't come, so we had to push all the pours back, and so we're running 3 to 5 days behind, but we're going to try to make it up." That's the critical person to a project.
What kind of experience does that person need to have?
Well, it's another great question. But so that individual needs to have, in my experience, they say years. I don't know if years is the right way to measure it. They need to have built 5 to 10 homes.
Right.
They need to have seen this process front to back multiple times to be able to anticipate problems, right? Because that's really what their job is, to be ahead of the field, 4 to 6 to 8 to 10 weeks. And so they're pushing us to buy windows when we're still like getting ready to frame the house.
Right.
Because those windows can take 10, 20, 30 weeks to be delivered. So it's important for them to be planning that.
That makes sense. Interesting. I love it. Anything else that stands out on the breaking ground standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, the other big part I think is, is safety is a big one, right? Making sure sites are fenced in, locked in, both from somebody walking onto your site and getting hurt, and and then people stealing tools. Unfortunately, that happens for sites. It's important to lock up the sites, both from vandalism and people stealing stuff, and from somebody walking onto the site and getting hurt. I think a lot of times, people are curious and like, oh, let me see what they're building. It's like, no, the reality is nobody is allowed on this property ever, period, unless you have permission or you're walking with somebody. Because if they get hurt, it's going to be on the homeowner.
Right.
And that's a big problem. One last piece is contracts.
Yes.
Contracts with your contractor is very important to have a good contract. We always advocate to use the AIA contracts, but the AIA contracts have all the language that you need, which is ownership roles, contractor roles, architects roles, what everybody's doing on this project, how the decision-making process works, what happens if somebody fails, what happens if somebody's not performing their job, how do we go about mitigating that. The AIA contract is a pretty fair, pretty balanced contract that gives a lot of protection to the owner.
I'm looking forward to diving into the next phases of these projects and, continuously getting updates on how things are going with your projects and even just seeing how the Palisades maps out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, super excited. Very excited to break ground on these 2 new homes that we got coming up.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Maybe we could get some insights with a couple videos and stuff. So
for sure.
I love it. All righty. Thanks, Ignacio.
Thank you, Kevin.